Hi, welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome back if you've watched my videos before. This channel is all about re-education and decolonizing the mind. I'm currently on a process of unlearning a lot and sort of decolonizing my mind, and I decided to create this YouTube channel so I could share a lot of the things that I'm learning or unlearning through this process. If you're interested in following along on this journey with me, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post videos fairly frequently, and I have a very ambitious TBR for 2024, so there are a lot of books that I plan to be sharing on this channel this year. This originally was supposed to be a reading vlog. I was finishing up about 3 books for the end of the year, but life sort of got the better of me with the holidays. I was really busy, and I then sort of realized I only had time to read the brothers Karamazov. So I read about 700 pages over the course of 3 days, so it was a very intense reading vlog, but it was very well worth it, and I can think of no better way to bring in the new year. I will just give a disclaimer. If anybody is a really big Dostoevsky fan or Brothers Karamazov is their favorite novel, please make sure you watch till the end until you comment. I was being a very big hater for about 90% of this video, and I will admit that, but I managed to come around by the end. So make sure you watch till the end, and please don't comment until you've gotten till the end. So I realized I did not really give a synopsis of this book, so just to give you an idea of what this book is all about. The book follows the Karamazov family. There's the father, Fyodor Karamazov, and he is honestly a very terrible person. He lies, he cheats, he loves women, drinking, and he's honestly not a very good person at all. And he's the father of these 3 sons. So you have the first son, Dmitri, sometimes goes by Mitya, and he is the oldest of the 3 sons of Fyodor. He also is a very sort of complicated character, definitely very overwhelmed by his passions and his feelings. So then you have Ivan, the middle child, and he's sort of like an intellectual, writes all of these essays about really interesting sort of religious philosophical questions like the division between church and state and that sort of thing. And then you have the youngest son, Alexei, who usually goes by Alyosha, who is a very religious person and is considering joining a monastery. So this book follows this family. I don't really want to get into spoilers or anything like that, but it follows this family, then sort of like a big event takes place, and then the repercussions of that are explored in the book. Hi, today I am filming part of my reading vlog. It is December 29th, and I'm very behind on the reading that I want to get done by the end of the year. I am working through Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, and I will be honest, I have not done much reading since I did my last reading vlog, mainly because I spent way too much time working on my last video. So I'm still somewhere in the 200s, and this book is over 900 pages, so got a lot to do. But I have done a little bit of reading since my last vlog, so I wanted to come back and talk about this book. So I still feel the same way about the Brothers Karamazov as I felt in my last vlog. I think Dostoevsky does certain things very well, which make this a very enjoyable read. But I think other parts are just not done well at all. There are certain scenes or conversations that I find really dull and very sort of challenging to get through. And a lot of the characters are very unlikable. I really dislike the dad, and I really dislike the oldest son. Like, when those characters are in a scene, I just tune out. Like, I don't find it interesting. I really enjoy Ivan, the middle brother, and I also quite enjoy Alyosha. I didn't think I was gonna like his character, but he's very insightful. So even though sometimes in certain situations he doesn't really act or behave the way I think most people would, but I think he's actually thinking everything through, which is why he might not necessarily act in the moment. He's just sort of like taking it all in and processing everything. Ivan is like the intellectual, very intelligent, and I just find he also is very insightful. And I think there's something to be said about someone who chooses to be an atheist but like has actually gone and asked all of the very difficult questions about religion, and Ivan seems to be that sort of person. I know I'm getting close to the Grand Inquisitor, which is like one of the parts of this book that's most well known. So I'm hoping when I get there, I sort of will get some momentum to keep pushing through. But I plan to listen to a few hours of this later today. I'm listening to it as an audiobook. I want to thank people so much for watching my videos. It honestly means a lot. YouTube is actually a lot harder than people make it out to be. Like, when you first start, you don't necessarily feel like you're doing a very good job. And so I really appreciate people who, you know, watch my videos even though I don't have a lot of subscribers. It means a lot. And the last video I posted, which was 24 books I want to read in 2024, that video honestly probably took me like 30 hours working on it. It took me so long, and then when I was editing it, I didn't like it. I filmed it like 3 times, and this is what I was talking about in my booktuber tag, that I am a perfectionist, and it makes it actually very difficult, especially when you don't have a boss, to just like let something go and do it. So I really appreciate all of the support so far, and I've been trying as much as possible to like practice self-compassion and accept the fact that, you know, it might not be perfect at the beginning, but like that's okay, you're on this journey, and just like be proud of yourself for posting a video. So yeah, I mean, hopefully people like that video. I don't like it, and I probably will never watch it again. But it did take a very long time to work on, so hopefully you guys enjoy it and get some sort of good book ideas from it. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of be honest and talk about sort of challenges that I'm also facing, because life is not always easy and rosy. I will check in. I don't think I'll check in today because the sunlight is already diminishing, but I will probably be back tomorrow. Hi, it is December 30th, and I am making my way through the brothers Karamazov. So I spent a few hours yesterday evening reading it, and I am here now. So still got a lot of reading to do. So yesterday I read quite a few chapters that I enjoyed. I got to the Grand Inquisitor, which is like a story within a story. It was really good, but very challenging. So I enjoyed the scenes with Ivan and Alyosha. There was an interesting conversation they were having about the whole idea of like, how can there be a god who is good when suffering exists, especially like the suffering of children. I really enjoy those sort of ideas that this book raises, but there's something about Dostoevsky I don't quite like. And I think what I'm coming to realize reading this is I like the ideas that his books raise. So the idea of like suffering, the idea of religion, the idea of division between church and state, but I don't really like the writing style of Dostoevsky. It actually sort of worked out that I've given myself like 3 days to read this, because I think if I had given myself too much time and I was sort of reading other things, I wouldn't really be that motivated to come back to this. So I thought once I read the Grand Inquisitor scene, like it was just gonna really take off and I was gonna be really excited and not want to put it down, but I don't feel that way. I feel like I want to finish this because I want to finish it by the end of this year, but I don't, there's nothing really about this book that is like drawing me back in every time. I'm hoping I can get to around 500 or so before I eat. Okay, so it is still December 30th. I just wanted to come back because I could tell the sun is fading. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and here's where we're at. So I am at page 507. I have really not been enjoying this, like not at all. And in terms of a storyline, there isn't really much going on by way of plot. Yeah, I'm really struggling with this, if I have to be honest. So like I said, I'm at page 507 and the book is 974 pages. I understand the idea of like a slow burn and committing to something, but this is just way too slow for me. And again, I think I would be okay with the slow plot if I really enjoyed the writing. And yeah, the sort of in-depth philosophical conversations that are really great that happen sometimes in this book, I would say the past like 3 hours I've been reading and there hasn't been anything like that. So there's just a lot of filler and I'm not really sure what the point of a lot of it is. I'm very curious about why he chose to write it in this way. Like, why not just have a much shorter book that deals with some of the philosophical questions that you have? I will come back tomorrow. I'm not gonna pop in later today. I just sort of wanna get through a lot of pages of this, but I will come in tomorrow morning, the last day of 2023, with my thoughts of what I read this evening, and then the plan is to finish this tomorrow. So let's see if I can do it. So it is December 31st. It's around 2 p.m. and I am making my way through the brothers Karamazov. I'm at page 816, so I have just under 200 pages left. So I listened to a large chunk of this yesterday evening, and I honestly can say to you that I do not like this book. And I kid you not, there were about 150 pages of this book that I absolutely despised. I was getting ready to throw in the towel and give it up. And it really has been the last hour of reading that it's suddenly gotten a little bit more interesting. It was really, really slow until page like 700 and something. And for me, I don't see why it needed to be as long as this. Like, I don't see why I had to slog through that middle section. There were very few sort of philosophical conversations. There were a lot of characters that I didn't particularly enjoy, who were having conversations that to me were fairly meaningless and very mundane. And yeah, honestly, it was very brutal. It was very brutal. And I think if I wasn't doing this challenge, I would have DNF'd this for sure, because I feel like there's so little time in one's life in general. Like, as I'm getting older, I feel like time is what's precious more than anything else. And so to read a book that isn't really serving you, bringing sort of the enlightenment or wisdom or knowledge, whatever it may be, to me is not a good use of my time. And so yeah, there was a very large chunk of this book that I just felt like I was wasting my time by reading this. It's gotten a little bit more interesting now in terms of the conversations, or sort of back to the philosophical conversations that were at the beginning. But I'll be honest, with the way I feel right now, there's very little that could happen in the ending that would make me think that this book is a book I would recommend people read to people. I'm not saying it's not been worth the read, like I'm glad I did this, but I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend other people doing this unless they have a lot of time and like they're just curious and want to see what this book is about. I just think there are other books that deal with this content in a much better way. So anyway, I am just very happy that I'm almost done, and I'm very happy that next year is a new year because I will not have to read this book anymore. So this is where I'm at. So I just have this little bit left, so just under 200 pages. I will pop back in probably tomorrow. It doesn't really make sense to do regular check-ins with this book because not a lot happens. And honestly, if I checked in this morning, it probably would have just been a 40-minute rant about how much I hate this book. So it's kind of lucky I came and checked in now after it had gotten a little bit better. I will check in tomorrow with my thoughts. Also, we'll talk about this in my December wrap up. But yeah, I'm kind of sad that I've only really been able to read this because I haven't been enjoying it. And there are so many other better books that I would have rather been using my time to read. But it's okay. It's okay. I am very close to finishing, and I will be very, very glad when this is over. So I will check in tomorrow. Happy New Year and stay safe. So it is now January the 2nd. Happy New Year. And I am back to talk about The Brothers Karamazov. I finished it. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I finished it. I finished it at like 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve. So I have no shame in admitting it. I was wrong. I was very, very, very wrong about this book. Like, so wrong. It is a masterpiece. And I didn't think I was going to come around to liking this book because I kid you not, I was on page 800 and I was like, there are 150 pages left, and I am very unimpressed. I don't want to spoil the story, so I'm not going to get into the particulars of the part that I liked. But near the end of the novel, there are like a set of monologues that happen, and as soon as it got there, I got it. Everything made sense. All of the minute details Dostoevsky was getting into about things that didn't seem important, it all made sense. It all just made so much sense. I would say with this book, you're not going to enjoy the process of reading it, at least I didn't, but when you finish, it ends up being worth it. Like, as I was reading this book and I was at like page 700, I remember thinking there is nothing that Dostoevsky can do that will make up for all of the time I've lost in the parts that I disliked. But you know what? He actually does it. Like, it's crazy, but he does it. I thought the monologues were also really interesting when it comes to their use of rhetoric. And rhetoric is sort of like an idea or concept within philosophy It's essentially about sort of like the art and technique of persuasion. And Dostoevsky gets into this in a very large part towards the end of the book, which I was not expecting at all, but was very interesting. And then it also sort of started to raise these questions in my mind about the narrator. Like, who is this unnamed narrator that's telling us this story, and what point of view are they trying to portray for us? So I do want to reread this book at some point, not anytime soon, because I honestly spent about 30 hours reading this over the weekend. But on a reread, I definitely am going to pay a lot more attention to the narrator and whose point of view they want you to sort of agree with or believe in. Another part that I really enjoyed in the book as it got a little bit later was sort of like these conversations all about fatherhood, and also the idea, sort of the way I think of it, of like nature versus nurture. So some people might end up being bad people, but it's because of the surroundings that they grew up in, but they could actually have like a very good sort of like soul or heart. Just like general overall thoughts of this book. I'm reading the Oxford World Classics version, and in this version, the back of the book, it has a quotation from Sigmund Freud, who says that this is the most magnificent novel ever written. And I understand why someone like Freud would really like this book. I would say if you're someone who's really into psychology, getting inside of the mind of somebody and trying to understand why they do the things that they do, this book is really good. But again, it's not going to make sense until like right at the end. So I didn't think I was going to come around, but I have to admit this is a magnificent novel. I don't think I would say it's my favorite because the reading experience was not particularly pleasurable, but it is one of those books that I'm definitely going to like think about a lot. There are a lot of chapters and passages that I want to go back and read. Very, very well done, Dostoevsky. I can see why this is considered to be a classic. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this reading vlog. Let me know in the comments if any of you have read Brothers Karamazov or any of Dostoevsky's works. I do actually feel now like I want to tackle another Dostoevsky book this year. I am deciding between The Idiot, which I already own but have never read, or Demons. Sometimes it's called The Possessed and sometimes it's called Devils. But let me know in the comments if any of you have any Dostoevsky recommendations for me. Also let me know if you've read Brothers Karamazov and what your thoughts were. Did you have the same sort of reading experience that I did? Let me know. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And if you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe because I will have more videos like this coming out soon. Thanks so much. Bye.